Happy Friday and welcome back to Cardinal Territory. I'm Katie Wu, and that is the one and only AJ Pierzynski, guest host today. Happy Friday indeed. AJ, thanks for coming on the show.
No problem. Katie, when you're a Cardinal legend like I am, I'm happy to do anything St. Louis related, obviously.
Well, right. That's why I had to, call in the big guns and be like, it's a Friday show. I got to get the special guest. So I'm glad you're here. I've had a lot of fun over the last year or so on Foul Territory with you. So I figured I would just cash in the favor request. And now we have a little bit of a role reversal here. So thanks again for joining.
Anytime. Happy to do it. Obviously part of Foul Territory network, I guess we're calling it now. But we're proud of you guys. We're proud of you and Trevor. I'm just mad Trevor's not here. I would love to give him some grief.
Well, that just means you can come on again. So be careful signing up
for
more guest appearances.
Okay.
All right. Let's get into it because as a former Cardinal, you have a lot of connections to this organization, a lot of feelings about the direction. And today on The Athletic, Ken Rosenthal of Fair Territory as well, he had this piece up today. And the headline, despite promised reset, Cardinals now find themselves stuck in the middle. And it's a really fair column done by Ken, in my opinion, probably one of the most fair things out there. And before we get into that, AJ, I just want to ask, what's your opinion of this kind of crazy offseason for St. Louis?
Well, I never thought I'd see a time where the Cardinals weren't trying to win, because the fans have come to a point, even the last couple of years when they were down, they were trying. But I love what Ken said about being stuck in the middle. You can't be stuck in the middle. And you either have to go complete, reset, or rebuild, whatever the Cardinals want to call it. But you can't be stuck in the middle where you have, at best, what are the Cardinals? Maybe a little bit over 500? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that because it depends on pitching. Michaelis and Matz and Fetty and these guys and Sonny Gray if they stay healthy. But then where the run's going to come from? Can Nolan Arenado still play? Because he hasn't been as great the last couple of years. So what's the ceiling for this team? And that's kind of what he means by being stuck in the middle. Is the ceiling isn't good enough probably to win a World Series, but the floor is bad enough to where you can still be not very good. And I think you don't want to be there as an organization. You don't want to be there as a team. And it's somewhere I never thought the Cardinals would be, because for the half year I was there, I was impressed. They wanted to win. I know Mozeliak well. I know Chaim Bloom. I obviously know Ollie Marmol. We went to the same high school. So I know a lot of the people, Daniel Descalso, teammate, John Jay, a teammate, ex-teammate of mine. These guys, they want to win. They want to do well, and the Cardinal fans expect them to compete. So to hear them say, it's a reset, but is it really a reset? Because if it's a reset, you figure out a way to trade Arenado, right? You figure out what to do with Sonny Gray and some of the other veterans. So that's why being stuck in the middle is a bad spot, because even if you have your best year, are the Cardinals going to win the World Series this year? I don't think they do. I don't think they can, the way they're constructed now, at least.
Yeah, and it's funny that we use the word reset, because after a couple of weeks in spring training, obviously I'm not there right now. I will be back in Jupiter next week. Mo has actually pushed back on the term reset, a term he coined, by the way, and now is referring to this as a transition year. So they never used the word rebuild. Can't use that word. And to be fair, the Cardinals didn't need to rebuild entirely. Their roster is not to the standard where they would, coming after the 2024 season, need to tear it down completely to the studs. But any version of what they were doing or what their plans were doing over the winter is some definition of a rebuild. But they went from reset now to transition. And I think part of the reason why is because if you look at this roster, and this is something Ken touched on quite extensively in that article, highly recommend if you're a Cardinals fan that you read it. They're almost the exact same team. Now, they lost 4 pivotal guys: Paul Goldschmidt, Lance Lynn, Kyle Gibson, and Andrew Kittredge. They were all very valuable for last year's squad. But when you're looking at the position playing side of this, sans Goldie, it's almost the exact same roster. I'm having conversations with Ollie Marmol talking about roster construction, and they're the exact same questions I asked last year in June and July about the bench, about playing time, about depth. It's just like a continuation of the 2024 season. And I think that's what has fans really frustrated. If it was a reset, we're not still harping on the same kinds of issues that we were harping on last year. And there are some factors we have to consider here, right, AJ? The Cardinals couldn't trade Nolan Arenado. They tried extensively. It's a complicated situation. We've gone over it almost every week here at Cardinal Territory. Wilson Contreras and Sonny Gray, they didn't want to be traded. They didn't want to exercise waiving their no trade clauses. Did that impact John Mozeliak's thinking of, hey, if Contreras and Sonny are staying, maybe I can still build a competitive club this last year. Maybe it's hard to say. Would any other executive gone out and traded Ryan Helsley, Eric Fetty, possibly Steven Matz? I would think so. Helsley himself, when I talked to him a couple of days ago, said probably 99 out of 100% of the time I would have been traded. So those are the kinds of things that make me kind of question the direction of this supposed reset. But at the end of the day, the Cardinals are still trying to compete, which is a good thing. I don't believe in the whole either you tear it down completely or you're all in to win. I think that's a very dangerous precedent to send. But I just wonder, like, we talked all offseason about this being a platform year to 2026. All of a sudden, we're now talking about, like, what can the Cardinals do in 2025? How are they going to solve all of these questions or answer all these questions about the future if they're competing to win games in 2025? This is what I don't understand.
Well, my thing is, yeah, I agree with everything you just said, because if they're resetting, rebuilding, whatever they want to call it, transition year, well, yeah, if you're John Mozeliak, don't you want to make the trades for Ryan Helsley and Eric Fetty and then see what you can get back to help Hein Bloom make the team better for next year? Like, that would be the thing to me. What I look at is, and I say, Cardinals fans don't expect a rebuild. They don't expect a retool, whatever you want to call it, a reset. So they're trying, again, be in the middle. Yeah, we're trying to compete, but we're also trying to get the young players. Listen, you got to give Jordan Walker 500 at-bats and say, listen, what do you got, right? You mentioned Wilson Contreras. You signed him to be your catcher. He's not a catcher anymore. Now he's a DH / first baseman / whatever they can put him at, right? Left field. We were trying him at left field last year at one point. So why'd you sign Wilson Contreras? And he won't waive his no trade. Of course, that's his right. But then why did you sign him, right? Sonny Gray doesn't want to move. Sonny Gray is a Cardinal. He was a Cardinal last year. He got a no trade. That's his right. But again, it goes back to, well, if you're only going to try to compete in 2024, then why'd you sign these guys to these long-term deals? Just sign them to one-year deals. You wouldn't have got them, but then why sign them? I mean, you did it with Lynn, you did it with Gibson, right? So, I mean, Kittredge is going to be a big loss for them because he was the one guy in their bullpen that could come in and strike guys out. And he was a guy that could go out there every day. So, I mean, I look at this Cardinals roster, and I always question this, and I've questioned this for a couple of years now. They got a lot of the same guys. It's like Nootbaar, Donovan, all these guys, right, are like boom, 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 and they're very similar players. There's, Victor Scott obviously can bring a speed thing. Mason Wynn can possibly be a difference maker. But the rest of them, they had Dylan Carlson forever, and then they had, then they bring Nootbaar, and then they bring in Donovan, and they have all these guys, and you're just like Gorman. You're like, man, like these guys are all the same player. Like, there's not a different guy in different positions. You look at the good teams. I mean, obviously you can look at the Dodgers and say, all right, well, they have a first baseman that matches, right? They have this guy, but they're all different players in different roles and different things. They also have some lesser guys that know their role. Will Smith, right, for example, he's not a MVP like the other, Mookie and Shohei and those guys, but he knows his role. He hits behind Freddie, does a great job. He catches, right? And then you have Max Muncy, who's an on-base guy with some power. So they're all different guys in different situations. And sometimes when I look at the Cardinals, I say, okay, they tried that. Now, obviously, Goldie got old fast last year, which nobody expected. He did have a better second half, but they didn't expect that, right? And then Arenado kind of has done the same thing. Not that he's done, but it comes down to roster construction. If you don't have different guys in different roles and different things for the opponents to look at, it's like, okay, we have these guys that are all the same. They can kind of all play different positions. They all kind of, but nobody does anything that you're just like, wow, look how great so-and-so does something. That makes it tough. And then from the pitching side, none of the young guys that they've tried to develop from a pitching side have worked out, have they? I mean, Liberatore was supposed to be a dude. He hasn't really worked out. I mean, Helsley, obviously, as the closer, has been good, but look at all their pitchers. They're mostly free agents, right? Matz, Sonny Gray, Lance Lynn last year, Gibson. Now can Palante and some of the other guys take this next step and possibly be something for him? Yes, but there's not a lot of homegrown guys where the Cardinals used to have homegrown guys like everywhere that were difference makers. Obviously Yachty, Waino, those guys you could look at, but John Jay, Descalso, the guys who were on the staff, they were homegrown guys that came up, did it the right way, but they also had roles. Right. I mean, that's the thing. What's the role? Like, if I'm the Cardinals, I'd go to Jordan Walker and say, okay, listen, you're not the greatest right fielder in the world. We're going to stick you out there, though. Maybe you'll get better, but we need to see what you can do for 500 bats. Not give them what they give them 60 last year. And like, okay, you got to go down, hit the ball in the air more. Like, no, how about you just get 500 bats? You're still, 21, 22 years old? 22. Go figure it out. Go figure it out at the big league level. We think you can be a star. Go figure it out. So I want to see that. I want to see them not go halfway and say, okay, we're only hitting 250, 200 at bats in. We're going to say, no, like, let him figure it out. Because this guy's, I mean, you've seen him. He's a monster. He can hit. He's hit his whole life. Let him go figure it out. He'll figure it out. And I think that's sometimes, too, the Cardinals are so quick to be like, and again, I don't know what goes on in the organization. I'm not there, but it's like, oh, no, he's not doing this. Oh, let's try the next guy, right? Like, sometimes if you're going to do a reset, you got to let the young kids play. And like you said, by being able to trade Arenado, which obviously they couldn't do because of his no trade, but trading some of these older guys to get the younger blood in isn't always a bad thing because it just brings an energy. It brings something different to the team. And sometimes, I know the Cardinal fans don't want to hear this, but sometimes you got to go backwards to go forwards.
I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head with that entire thing, but you said it especially, roster construction and role players. And
by the way, hold on. I'm in my hotel room and the maid just walked in. Hold on. Excuse me. That's fine. Excuse me.
No.
Never mind. It's my wife. Never mind. I thought it was the maid. Okay, we can continue now.
Wow. Nice. Very nice, AJ. Thank you for that.
I thought it was the maid. I was like, whoa, okay, welcome.
No, different. It's fine. So you talked about the roster construction. This has been an issue dating back to 2023 even. And I expect it to be an issue coming into the 2025 season because you're right. There are so many redundant players. The way the opening day roster currently projects, it is already so left-handed heavy. You think about guys like Gorman, Nootbaar, Donovan, both Victor Scott and Michael Ciani are left-handed defensive first specialists in center field. You think about the right-handed bats, it's really just Contreras and Arenado as the established ones. Can Jordan Walker be that right-handed bat behind him? Can Ivan Herrera step up? You have two catchers in Herrera and Pages who are both young in their careers, so I definitely don't want to cast any doubt there. I believe their ceilings are high, but no clear front runner for your succession plan behind the plate. I mean, their succession plan since Yadi left has not gone according to plan, and arguably the most critical defensive position out there. You have Contreras at first base, and he looks fine, right? I mean, do I think he's Goldschmidt-esque out there defensively? No, but he's serviceable. What does that mean for Burleson, though? Another left-handed offensive first player. So already we're having the same conversations about the roster as we did last year. And then with role players, I think you're exactly right. And that's part of the reason why the Cardinals went out and tried to build a bench with like veteran guys like Brandon Crawford and Matt Carpenter last year, because those are guys that have been in this game for a decade, understood where they were in their careers, and we're okay taking that backup to Mason Wynn role or the backup 26th man on the roster role. But the Cardinals have yet to really figure out who can do what as a role player. So we know that they're going to try to give Jordan Walker 500 at bats. Same with Nolan Gorman. They should, for as high ceiling as those two have had, two top prospects. I mean, Jordan Walker was a top prospect in baseball, not just for the Cardinals. And they need to see what they have in them so they can start planning. And I think they have definitely the flexibility to do that. It's the other players on the roster that I'm not quite sure they're going to be able to figure out. Are they going to know what they have in a Burleson? Are they going to know what they have in a Thomas JC? Are they going to know what they have in Victor Scott II? Again, elite speed, high defensive potential. The bat looks really good so far in spring, but it's spring. So those are the questions that we went into the end of the 2024 season asking. And as we start the 2025 season, are no closer to answering. And this is where fans are getting frustrated. They want the Cardinals to pick a lane. And if the Cardinals said, hey, look, this sucks, but we're going to trade Ryan Helsley. I mean, he's in his 10th year in the organization. He's a brand name at this point. We're going to trade Helsley after his career year. I think fans would have been disappointed, but they would have understood. Or, hey, you know what? Eric Fedde is a bargain price on the market. Well, he's valuable to us right now. Opening a spot for Andre Palante or Michael McGreevy so we can figure out what we are in 2026 is more valuable. I think the fans would have understood that. What they do not understand, and candidly, I don't some days either, is the middle of the direction. And again, I don't think that trying to win games is a bad thing, obviously. I think when you're the St. Louis Cardinals, you should be trying to win as often as you can. But the Cardinals went out. They were very honest about the direction they were going in October. And here we are about to be in March. And all of a sudden, that direction is really murky again.
Well, what moves did they make? Like you said, they didn't make any moves. Literally was
zero.
Eric Fedde traded to the Cardinals one of the biggest surprises last year of all time? Because most people thought Fedde would go to a team that was really contending, and the Cardinals weren't really in the race. I think the other thing that's frustrating for Cardinals fans is they look at the division and they say, okay, there's not a great team in our division. If we went out and made some moves, we could turn it around this year or next year possibly, because the Brewers haven't really done anything, right? I mean, I know they're still the Brewers. The Cubs haven't used their might. other than getting Kyle Tucker, but they still haven't gone full Cubs what they could do with where they're at in their market. The Reds are the Reds, right? So the Pirates are still the Pirates. Yes, they have Skeens and Jones and some other guys, but do the Cardinal fans really think like we can't compete with the Pittsburgh Pirates right now or the Milwaukee Brewers? And the Brewers every year have figured out something. They go out and they have a plan, and they're always better than what people think they're going to be. So I think that's also what's frustrating for Cardinal fans is, oh my gosh, we're in the NL Central, which isn't it's not the AL East, right, or the NL West where you have these financial juggernauts. We're in the NL Central, much like the AL Central. There's not really a team that goes out and just uses their might to outmaneuver everybody and outpay for these teams. So I think that's also the frustration. But like you said, Katie, if they would just come out and say, you know what, we're going to need 1 year, guys, and we're going to trade away some players, but in 2 years from now, we're going to be a better organization because of it. I think Cardinal fans are smart enough to say, you know what, you're right. We can live with a bad year as long as you tell us. I think that's what most baseball fans have become accustomed to, other than obviously Yankees, Dodgers, even the Red Sox fans have been through it, right? And you never thought we'd see a day where the Red Sox were like, oh man, we can't spend. So I think the Cardinal fans would be okay with it because they're smart enough. But just do that. Just say that. Just come out and say, you know what, guys? Yeah, we're going to trade Helsley. We're going to trade Fetty. We're going to trade Matz if we can. Sonny Gray obviously would be a great trade piece if he would go somewhere. But just say it. I just want an organization to be honest. And I think, yes, sometimes they can't be honest because of whatever is going on behind the scenes. But I think Cardinal fans would understand. I mean, I'm looking at their roster right now, and I'm like, who's going to pitch? Okay, yes, Gray, Fetty, Matz are starters. Palante's probably a starter. What are they doing with Liberatore? Is he going to be a starter? Is he going to be a reliever, right? It's like, okay, then what? Then who's after them? Who's coming after them? I want to see the guys who are coming after those guys because Gray's a veteran. Fetty's been around for a while. Matz has been around for a while. Matz can't stay healthy, it seems like, any time, right? So, you have to have at least one other starter. How will Palante react in the rotation? It's just an interesting time because I think they would have been better off just selling everybody, but without telling the Cardinals fans. Plus, Mozeliak's last year, he doesn't want to go out on a 90-loss team, right? He wants to try to go out on a high note, but I think the high note would actually be setting it up for the future in Chaim Bloom and whoever else comes in there for the future, not this year, but 26, 27, when, hey, you know what, we're going to get back to winning the Cardinal way.
And I think that was the plan when they first announced. I mean, it was a terrible end of season press conference, but at least we had an understanding of where the organization was going. And I think, in the end of September, early October, that's what they wanted to do. That's what they intended to do. And I think it's fair, again, to question if Contreras and Sonny Gray staying impacted that. I think you're right about John Mozeliak, who, and this is brought up in Ken's column as well, maybe is facing some internal pressure to not go out like that. I mean, can you blame him? Look, I know it's popular to dunk on Mo right now, and I understand he's probably a little. I think fans think that he's overstayed his welcome, but let's not pretend like
Mo. I think Mo's awesome. Listen,
yeah,
I think Mo's great.
That he hasn't done what he's done for this organization. It has not been impactful. That has not, made the Cardinals where they are right now. It's easy. It's a what have you done for me right now business, but John Mozeliak's tenure will be one of the best that we see in Major League Baseball. And I don't blame him for not really wanting to go out like this, especially with what you said about the division. The NL Central is, again, wide open. There is no clear-cut favorite. It's a 500 division, again, unless the Brewers do one of their Brewers things and figure it out. You can't rule it out. But, they're a different team without Devin Williams and Willie Adames. So, again, it was – I think the messaging has been muddled a little bit, and I think fans are frustrated. I think they were on board with the reset, but now that it's not a reset and it's a transition, and it's more or less looking like running back the exact same roster. And look, the Cardinals won 83 games last year. They were not a good offensive team. They had a great bullpen. I still think if the Cardinals figured out a way to sneak into the playoffs, we would have never even had this conversation. I think we would have been exactly where we are right now, AJ. That's
rinse and repeat,
so,
rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat.
Yeah. So no matter what, we're still having the same conversation. But I do understand fans' frustration, skeptics throughout the industry, even players being confused on the direction of the Cardinals because it doesn't really. They've stated what they want their direction to be, but their actions haven't really matched up there. But we'll get into the 2025 Cardinals in a sec. First, though, we got to hear from our friends at Nutrafol.
Hair thinning is very common, very frustrating problem that many men deal with. From stress and nutrition to hormones to lifestyle, so many internal factors affect what you see on the outside. Luckily, Nutrafol is here to help.
Thinning hair is different for men and women, so a one-size-fits-all approach to their hair growth doesn't cut it. Nutrafol has multiple formulas for men and women that are tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand trusted by over 1.5 million people. See thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
Start your hair growth journey with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code FOUL. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code FOUL.
Was that you doing the intro to that?
It was, but I actually have all my hair, so
Well, if I do one more Cardinal season, I might need that information because it's been a stressful 3 weeks, AJ. Hey, you know what? The gang at Foul Territory was at Cardinals camp yesterday, but neither you or I were there because apparently we don't like each other enough to hang out.
What's that? No, I lost you for a second there. I don't know. You went to a circle.
Oh, perfect. No, I was bringing up the fact that our friend Eric Kratz was at Cardinals camp yesterday, the Foul Territory gang in Jupiter. You and I are like ships in the night, just passing by, but never close enough to say hey.
One day I think I do have a Fox game coming up, so I think the Cardinals game. So I think maybe, but you probably won't be on that one, so it'll be fine. Everyone in the Foul Territory Network, I never meet in person. It's like I just see you guys on TV.
Yeah, basically. If it's not TV or Twitter, it's Instagram. It's never in person. I think the Cardinals do have one Fox game, though. I looked at their schedule. A sign of the times that the St. Louis Cardinals have one Fox game up until the All-Star break. But weirdly enough, they have the second Sunday night baseball, Cardinals Red Sox. So probably the only time we'll see that on ESPN.
That's because the Cardinals fans watch, right? They do watch when they're on TV. They watch the games.
Definitely.
So that's why. I mean, they still draw. They still rate very well on television. But I tell teams all the time, people complain about like when I go in to do a Fox Saturday night game and they're like, gosh, we have you guys tonight. Then we have Sunday night baseball. I go, you know who doesn't get on Sunday night baseball on Fox Saturday night? Bad teams. So if you're good, guess what? You're going to have to do it. And if you want to not be on, then be bad. Because you know who's not going to be on TV this year? The White Sox, the Rockies. They're not going to be on Fox or Sunday night baseball.
The Rockies were on ESPN. I have no idea.
Unless they were playing the Dodgers, I don't know when. I mean, I'm thinking the last time I did a game in Colorado, they were playing the Dodgers, and it was like which is a beautiful place to go to Colorado, but they're not really. I hate to say this about but they're not relevant right now.
Well, hopefully that does not happen to the St. Louis Cardinals in 2025. What's the ceiling? I mean, we talked about this a little bit already, but when you're looking at this roster, like who are the players that you're looking to take big jumps for that you believe can take some big jumps out there?
Well, I think we were talking about Jordan Walker. I think he can take a big jump. And I think whether it's Gorman, Newbar, Donovan, one of those guys also needs to take a jump. And you got to figure out your catcher, right? Is it Herrera, is it Pies, or is it somebody else? You have Contreras. He can still catch. They don't seem to want him to catch, but I didn't think he was that bad. I know I'm not watching every single game, but he did okay with the Cubs. But again, you signed him to this big deal to be a catcher, not to be a first baseman, not to be a DH. So, but honestly, I think Walker offensively, and then one of the other guys, whether it's Gorman, Newbar, whoever that next person in line is, Donovan, whoever that is, has to take that jump. And then for me on the pitching staff, I think Palante. I saw like I said, I saw the Cardinals 2 days ago and in the Yankees. And I was talking to Jay and Descalso and Holly, and they love what he can do. They love his arm slot. They love his action on his pitches. And he's the one guy that everybody mentioned, like, this guy's got a chance to be really good for us. So I think he needs to take a step. And then somebody in the bullpen. Is it going to be, was it Fernandez, right? The guy who comes out of the bullpen throwing fire, right? I mean, I know Helsley's back there, but will he be the guy if they do trade Helsley to take over the ninth inning? I think he can take a jump too, because guess what? He went through it for a year, and now he can do it again. So I think he's another guy. So I think there's pieces there, but I think that the pieces, like we kind of talked about earlier, they don't all fit together like as into one big unit. It's more of, okay, they fit, but how does they fit together? And I think Ollie's going to have a challenge like he's had the last couple of years of figuring out playing time, where positions, where guys are going to play. And I mean, I think, listen, Mason Wynn had a great year. Is it going to be Victor Scott in center field every day? Like those are the questions they have to figure out for the future, not for this year. Because I think even if like their ceiling last year was 83 wins. That's what they won. That's about as good as they could have done. This
You
year,
know, seriously, the way that look at their margin of one run win games. I mean, they had no business winning as many games, but they were able to because of their bullpen.
but isn't that their ceiling this year again? It's about the same number, isn't it? Because you said they pretty much have the same team minus Goldschmidt, right? So, I mean, is that their best they could do? If 83 enough to get them into the postseason? I don't think it is in the National League. I mean, because you can start going Dodgers, Padres, Diamondbacks, someone from the Central, someone from the East. There's 5 of them right there, right? If you look at the National League East, you have the Phillies, Mets, Braves. I would think you'd say all 3 of those teams are better than anybody in the Central. And you could say Padres, Dodgers, Diamondbacks are better than anyone in the Central. So you got one spot. You basically have to almost win the Central to get in. And are the Cardinals the best team? I'd say you put them at least 3rd, if not 4th right now, right? Behind the Brewers, behind the Cubs, and behind the Reds. And
I
the
would say so.
Right? So, I mean, it's a tough road to hoe for these guys. I mean, I love the Cardinals, and I love the organization, and I love the fans, and I want them to do well. But sometimes you just got to be truthful and say, let's look at 26 already.
Right. And the weird part about this is that an 85 win team can probably win the Central just based on how the division is projecting. And I think the Cardinals are capable of winning right around 83, 85 games. 85 games and everything goes right. But as you know, AJ, that never happens in a baseball season. And that's no, come on. It doesn't even happen in a day. But let's really think about this. The Cardinals are confident in their ability to compete this year if Jordan Walker figures out how to hit consistently, if Nolan Gorman can figure out the strikeout rate and to hit the ball more consistently, if Lars Nootbaar can stay healthy and maybe play center field, but that's a whole other conversation. If Mason Wynn repeats his rookie year, if they can figure out the catching situation, if Nolan Arenado bounces back, if Wilson Contreras can be a first baseman. That's 7 ifs already, and we've even gotten to the pitchers. So if you're the Cardinals, you're counting on all of this to go right to be competitive. I mean, that's not a realistic strategy. Now, are some of these players going to take some steps forward? I certainly hope so. This is a pro Jordan Walker show, so there will be no slander of Jordan Walker on this program.
He better not, because he'll beat you up. He's so big. I mean, he'll walk by you and just grab me by the ear and drag me around.
He could do that. That's like a 6'8", insane. I don't. It's hard to envision the Cardinals reaching their ceiling this year because so much is going to have to go right, and that's not how baseball works. Now, do I think some of these players are going to take some steps forward? I would love to see a healthy Lars Nootbaar. I think a healthy Lars Nootbaar is a difference maker on almost any single of the 30 ball clubs out there right now. Jordan Walker, sure, the defense probably isn't the best in right field, but I mean, you saw some of his at-bats in Tampa. The big thing for him is laying off the slider, which I thought he did a good job against Will Waldron for. I mean, he did eventually punch out, but at least it wasn't on the slider low and away. And getting the ball in the air more consistently, which the at-bats have looked better. Can Nolan Gorman cut down that strikeout rate? Again, we didn't see that much of all last year, but he's going to get a chance to try it one more time. So I think if you're the St. Louis Cardinals, you're evaluating the success, or you should be evaluating the success of the 2025 season on individual performances. But this goes back to the points we've made all episode. They are still competing and still trying to win ball games, and it's just kind of riding down the middle, which, as you said, as Ken said, which I agree with, is the worst place to be if you're a baseball team.
Listen, I agree with everything you just said. The success of the Cardinals, unless all those ifs go right, and there's way more ifs than the 7 you just named, because like you said, you didn't get the pitching staff, is based on individuals taking the next step. That's what you have to be excited about if you're a Cardinals fan. The young guys you have that have the potential to be stars, the Jordan Walkers, the Gormans, the Donovans, the Nootbaars, will they slowly start taking steps? And if you listen to Ollie Marmol on Foul Territory yesterday, he's like, we're way better in analytics. We're way better at certain things than we were a few years ago, which is also a step for the organization. But can they translate it to the players, understanding, taking those steps, becoming the players they think they can? If they can, listen, I'm not saying they can be good in 25, but 26, 27, because the Cardinals do have financial might when they want to use it. And the 25 free agent class after this year is a star-studded one. There's a lot of really good players that are out there. And the Cardinals have shown a propensity in the past. If they want somebody, like when they went and got Goldschmidt, when they went and got Arenado, right? I mean, Goldschmidt, they went and got and signed him to an extension. They can do these things, the Sonny Grays, right? They can go out and get guys when they want them, Wilson Contreras. They just have to find the right, whatever it is, deal that they want to go get. But when the Cardinals want somebody, they go get them. And they're not afraid because they have Ballpark Village. They have basically the whole Midwest other than Illinois behind them, right? So, I mean, even South Illinois is all Cardinals fans. So I think the Cardinals have to look kind of ahead down the road, which no fan wants to hear because every fan wants to win. But yeah, you're right. It's going to be measured this year by how the players take those small steps to become something for the future, not for this year, but down the road.
And that's, again, the whole point of this. Not a rebuild, not a reset, but just a casual transition for the St. Louis
Yeah,
Cardinals.
whatever you want to call it, Katie, whatever you guys want to call it in St. Louis.
I'm sure by opening day, it'll be something completely different. So that's just how it is around here. AJ, this was great. I know fans really like to hear from you. You offered just such a real perspective about the game, and I'm excited to be teammates with you. Next time we do this, though, we should wear our Fredbird hats. I think we kind of missed opportunity here for that.
Well, I'm on the road, so I don't have mine with me, but every chance I get, I don't carry it with me. No, sorry. But every chance I get on Foul Territory to throw on my Fredbird hat, I'm all for it.
It's a great one. And they're giving them away again, one of the home weekend games in April. So, things are in that respect, or that perspective, looking up in St. Louis. As long as they keep the Redbird hats, I think we can all stick around. AJ, this was great. I appreciate the time. And I'm looking forward to seeing you at some point. Cardinal Territory fans, we're back again with Trevor Rosenthal and Alexa Dat, who, if you may remember, was supposed to be on this episode, but we had some scheduling conflicts. So shout out AJ for being a team player. Some fun stuff. I'm looking forward to getting back to Jupiter, getting back with Trevor. But until then, enjoy these spring training games. Have a very safe Mardi Gras. Make good decisions. For AJ Pierzynski, I'm Katie Wu. We'll talk next week.